When you think about all the disastrous ways that a season could start, they've all basically hit for the Houston Texans in the first 3 weeks of the season as they lose again today to the Jacksonville Jaguars and are 0-3 on the season. And is it officially official? The time to panic for this football team. We're talking about it on the Locked On Texans Squad show.
Yeehaw! It's time for the Texans Squad. Everything Houston Texans, every week. Bringing you the big hits, game-changing plays, and all the action straight from the Lone Star State. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Saddle up and squad up. It's the Texans Squad show starting now.
Well, to be honest, I have no idea if that video played or not. Sometimes the technology is just, it doesn't like us here on the internet. But we are live after the game today where the Texans lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hi, Michael Connor. You got John Hickman there off to my side, Stan Norfleet below me. Then down in the other corner, you have Wade Smith, former Texans offensive lineman. As we have a lot to get into over our hour.
They need you, Wade.
Today, guys. Yep, it is going to be interesting. They need a lot of things right now. 0-3 on the season, 17-10. I'm going to say it for all of us to start. One of the absolute worst displays of football on both sides that I've ever watched in my life. Just absolutely disgusting. Neither team really wanted to win the football game today. Drops left and right. No protection for quarterbacks. Neither team can run the football at times. Ugly, ugly, ugly down there in Jacksonville in a stadium that didn't even look like barely half full for a team that's now 2-1 in Jacksonville. But they are 2-1, and the Texans are 0-3. So I guess let's get it started, guys, with the number one question at 0-3. Are you officially in panic mode for this football team salvaging this season after another lousy offensive effort out of this team? John, you can start us since you're directly to my right.
Yeah. Through 3 games, 24 penalties. So they are still a very undisciplined team, and these penalties continue to happen at the most inopportune time, and they become real drive killers. You see C.J. Stroud constantly fight this offense out of a hole, and he did today against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they still get those penalties. This is the team we got to hit the panic button on. 0-3. They get to October, that schedule gets extremely hard for them. And how they played against the Jacksonville Jaguars today, where do we feel like the future looks good for Houston? At what point do we feel like the offense is going to click? You get guys back. Andrews is back out on the field today. Kirk was back out on the field today. And I thought that should have been a touchdown connection. I don't know who that communication was on from CJ to Kirk, but where do we feel like the faith is right now? I mean, I started to cook a pot roast at halftime because I want to see something cook because it wasn't the offense. Where do we feel like we're going to see anything good come about, guys? 0-3 to start the season while you look around the division and the Indianapolis Colts and Daniel Jones has put it together. Yeah, panic time. And anybody that feels that way, this is your therapy session for the next hour.
About the only thing good going on right now is probably the smell in your house, John. Wade, are you panicking now on the 0-3 Texans?
I'm not on the inside, so I think anybody that's not on the inside of the organization has got to be panicking right now. If you're a fan, if you're somebody that's following the team, you got to be panicking. Because you have no control over what's going on and what's happening, and there's no evidence that you're seeing that they're going to come out of it. Now, if you're inside in the organization, if you're somebody that actually has direct control over what happens of play in and play out, day in and day out, you can't panic. Those guys that are in the locker room, those guys that are in the building, they cannot panic, but their sense of urgency has to go up, their attention to detail has to go up, their discipline has to go up. But they cannot panic because when you panic, you start making rash decisions, you start making bad decisions, and everything snowfalls and tumbles down, and then you can't come back from it. But outside looking in, yeah, you definitely got to be in panic mode because the way things works is people going to believe in you when you show them that you can do X, Y, and Z. And offensively, as an offense this year, the Texans have not shown that they can be consistent on the offensive side of the ball. They haven't shown that they can put the ball into the end zone. And so there is reason to panic.
Stan Norfleet, where are you in terms of your panic?
I'm probably at an 8, teetering towards 9. And the reason it's that high is not that the Texans can still accomplish their goals, right? The Texans haven't gone undefeated in the division in both of D'Amico's years. There's still time to right the ship and take care of your division business. Here's the hard part. The way this team has been put together schematically, the way this roster has been built, I've been telling y'all for months, and I was the overwhelming minority when I said it in real time. I told you that patchwork offensive line is not going to get it. That first-time offensive line coach is not going to get it. This first time, another wonder kid caller coming in expecting, Wade, you've been excellent in pontificating and educating us on what they're asking C-Day to be Brady-esque. No one else has been successful running that system at the highest level except for Brady and Belichick. You got a defensive-minded head coach that has clearly put more resources on defense. And in today's football, you have to score. Y'all tried to tell me 2 rookie wide receivers, along with an often injured Christian Kirk, along with Ariante Ursery, who got absolutely crushed today. 2 of the 3 games that Ursery has been out there have not been good, today being his worst. It's not saying that he's not worth a second-round pick. It's not saying that he doesn't have upside. Ariante Ursery does not give this team the best chance to win at left tackle. I told you that a month ago. So maybe people start listening to me. Everybody clamored. We got Woody Marks. Great. Did that matter today? All I'm saying is the way it's time to panic because of how the team is built. And outside of Caserio doing a big boy trade, Caserio and D'Amico, because they're making decisions together, they put this team offensively in a conundrum. And it's not going to get better outside of going to get a hallmark player before the deadline. And I don't know, even if you go get, I don't know, insert whatever receiver. That offensive line, Wade, you saw what I saw. It's on tape. The Rams did what Kansas City did last year. You turn around and Tampa did the same thing the Rams did. And then you turn around and Jacksonville has now 2 other weeks of tape. This offensive line can't hold up, and I'll stop there.
I think it's a fair question now to ask. Can this offensive line do? I mean, we really saw it today. I mean, Josh Hines-Allen basically destroyed the line of scrimmage all day long. Wade, where are you with where the offensive line is at? And, you know, is it killing CJ's confidence back there, or is he, you know, is he making mistakes on top of it as well?
I think it's a combination of things. I think the difference between, and it's tough to compare things to last year to this year. Like last year, there was a lot of issues that we could tell were mental issues. There were complete breakdowns of just basic football. You haven't really seen that this year. What you're seeing this year is that guys are getting beat in their one-on-one matchups. That's just, hey, this guy is playing better than that guy. For the most part this year, the Texans offensive line has done a better job of handling games and things like that. They couldn't do that last year at all. But in this game against Jacksonville, there was I think it was a nose tackle game that got home in the second half, and that was a big play in the game for Jacksonville. But to compare this year to last year, they're playing better, but neither one is good enough for you to win ball games. That's a great point. Because if the offensive line has gotten better, but they're still not good enough to win ball games, then people can make that argument. Well, the way they're put together is why the team is as bad as it is. And I get it, but they are not playing as bad as they played last year. That part has improved. The offensive line coach that is there now is doing a better job than what the offensive line coach is doing there last year. But it's still not good enough. So at the end of the day, that part really doesn't matter. They got to play good enough to win. And they had a team that they should have beat today, a team that was trying to give them every opportunity to win the game, and they didn't make the plays. I mean, there was times that C.J. Stroud threw the ball into coverage when he had time and he had receivers open, and he threw the ball into coverage and he got an interception. On the last play of the game where they threw the interception, he double hitched up on the ball. The ball should have been out. I don't know why we're running such deep routes anyway. It's 3rd and 1. Let's get the first down and recycling. That was a couple of times. So it's a combination of things. It's the way the plays are being called. Even when Christian Kirk, we talk about Christian Kirk, he made plays throughout the game, but a couple of times, like there was a 3rd and 1 the series before that, where he ends up converting on 4th and 1 or 4th and short, whatever it was. But to me, he should have called that play that he called on 4th down. He should have called that play on 3rd down instead of throwing a slot go that was incomplete where he had good coverage. Like some of the things that are going on as far as the way the plays are getting called, I don't agree with. Stan mentioned it earlier. We did not know what type of offense was going to be run when Nick Caley was signed on to be the coach. You knew he had a background with 2 different organizations. You knew you would think you would take influences from both organizations. But when you listen to the press conference from last week, when Tampa's head coach says, hey, that was the Patriots type of offense that we faced, not the Rams type of offense that we faced. That means that's Patriot way. That's not Shanahan, McVay type offense. Now we get a clear picture of, oh, this is what's going on in there based off of what your opponent is saying. That is discouraging to me because, like Stan mentioned it before, I've never seen it work anywhere else except with Brady behind the helm. And C.J. Stroud is not Tom Brady. Nobody's Tom Brady. So I hope that that's not what they're expecting out of C.J. Stroud, because just like everybody else has tried to do that, it's going to fail.
Can I add something? Just, we see the same old story through 3 games, 0-4 in the red zone, 8 of 33 on third downs. You talk about what's really holding this team back. They don't get down to the red zone often. That's averaging 1 point something per game that you get down to the red zone through 3 games. So when they get down there, then the offense just completely stops working. And it's already an offense that's struggling in itself. And then the constant third and long situations to where 8 of 33. Now you're getting off the field. Now we talk about so much the Bucs, the Rams, and especially in this game, teams just kind of giving the game away or not kicking the Texans' tail completely. They continue to get the ball because this Houston Texans offense cannot convert on third down, which continues to put the defense in a compromising situation. In every game, it feels like towards the end of the game, we see the defense kind of make a breakdown mental error of something on the field. So I think when you look at the same old story for Houston, it has been seldomly getting to the red zone. And when getting down there, you can't punch it in. Even if you're on the 1 yard line, that still bugs me. And then on the money down, third downs, 8 of 33. That's not an offense in the NFL that's going to win games with those type of abysmal numbers.
And to John's point, real quick, I've kept track of it because I heard it last week and I kept track of it during the game. So I'm just going to keep track of it the rest of the season. They have played a total of 31 offensive drives this season now. They have scored 3 touchdowns across the 31 drives.
Let's quantify those 3 touchdowns, if I could jump in right there. The Nico today, the double move on Tyson Campbell's busted coverage. That's one of them. We all now know, and I said it real time, they let Nick Chubb score versus Tampa last week on Monday Night Football. So you really have the Nico Collins touchdown, the first drive of the Tampa game, is the only touchdown you have in 3 games of professional football. Now, I get it. What they're going to say in the presser after the game, they're going to say it again. D'Amico's going to say, we're going to watch the tape. We'll come back. I still believe in Nick Caley's system. We're going to stay with it. I believe that the answer's in his locker room. He has to believe that. Wade just talked about it. But I don't. And I don't care how battle red your heart is for the Texans. Look at what you have on the screen. What you have on the screen is the worst offense in the NFL. Facts. What you have, I'm talking about statistically, facts. Use your eyeballs, facts. My man John just highlighted. I'm going to look at the numbers coming into today's game. Worst team on third down in the league, literally. Worst red zone team in the league, literally. 27th of 32 teams, points per play, talking about offensively, points per play, worst in the league. Scoring offense, worst in the league. Now, when you got a quarterback like C.J. Stroud and you got a host,
some people want him gone,
like Nico Collins. Oh, I'm looking at the comments. I saw social media. D'Amico, I think, and we're going to learn a lot about Coach. See, I have to teach this to some of my young guys. Stopping, or I should say adjusting, is not the same as quitting. D'Amico, you and Nick Caley and Bill Lazor, because, yeah, you're going to be a woeful Tennessee Titans team next week. You're going to smack them. Guess who's coming after that? Them bullets from Baltimore coming down here. So you can't afford, Wade, you feel what I'm saying? Look how the schedule lays out. They can't afford to wait to the bye, and then we're going to try and fix it. D'Amico, you got another offseason. You're going to be here. Kaylee, maybe not. We'll find out if Casario going to be here. Press abort on this offensive philosophy right now and change it immediately. I don't know what you do. I don't have all the information that they have on the players in the building because we as media only get to see certain points of practice. But I don't think if they stay the course with what they're doing, it's going to get better. Tank Dell is not walking through that door. Joe Mixon is not walking through that door. Steph Diggs is not walking through that door. This is what it is. It's not enough. And I told them that to start the year. I'm watching Emeka Book in Tampa. He got to highlight every bleeping game. You could have gone to get him. You chose these wide receivers, and you don't even play Higgins. Go ahead, y'all.
All right, we'll get to your – I think you bring up a great question, Stan, in terms of what you do moving forward. We're going to talk about it here in just a second. Locked on Texans Squad Show. Before we get there, though, I want to tell you guys this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. With football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, it's easy, and honestly, it's my favorite way to play. Follow along while I watch football. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Houston Texans losers again today, and the squad show continues. Michael Connor, John Hickman, Stan Norfleet, and former Texans offensive lineman Wade Smith. Texans 17-10 losers today, now 0-3 on the season, 0-2 away. First time they've lost, by the way, in Jacksonville since 2017, so that streak comes to an end, which
11
stinks.
consecutive AFC South victories on the road for the Texans stops today. 11 straight.
And the biggest thing that we're going to continue to talk about, like we did all summer long leading into this season, like we're doing now, is talk more than anything else about the offense. But look, the defense again today, they might have had some issues in the game. They might have made some mistakes here and there. They still kept an opponent to 17 points in the game. And guess what? When you keep an opponent to 17 points in the game, you got a chance to win, and you should win those football games every single time, but you can't do anything offensively. So the question is now, what do they do offensively? Do they have the pieces? Now, this is the big picture question. Do they have any kind of pieces to make you think that you can flip it? But do you flip philosophies? Do you change something? Do you do something different? Like, how long is the Nick Caley era even going to live if you keep going this way? I guess the big picture of it, where do we think they go from here? Do they stay the course on what they're trying to implement? Wade, what do you think?
It's very difficult to think about course correcting completely and change your philosophy mid-season. That's damn near impossible to do. But I would like to see, hey, if we're going to run play action passes off of outside zones, then let's run outside zone every time, as opposed to running outside zone boots and you don't run that play. Like, I don't understand that. Like, if you're going to run play actions off of the runs that you actually run, that marries up, that makes sense. But the first play of the game, it was an outside zone boot pass, and CJ Stroud ended up having to run the ball. Why? None of the receivers are open. Why are the receivers not open? Because the defense didn't believe that it was a run, because they never see you run the ball on outside zone. So they just collected all the receivers are going down the field and not open. And they did that like 3 or 4 times in the game where you got outside zone boot plays, but you don't run outside zone. So let's marry up what we're doing in the run game with the pass game so that you can make the defense believe that's what it is. We talked about it before. Stan mentioned how the younger receivers aren't playing very much. Well, it kind of goes along with that whole thought process that they're playing more of a Patriot type of offensive scheme. Yeah. None of those Patriot teams had young receivers playing early in their careers. I always had veteran guys because you had to be super cerebral and smart to figure out and execute those offenses at a high level.
Especially in the slot. That's true.
In the slot. And that kind of shows the difference of what happened the last couple of weeks because Christian Kirk wasn't there. And then you saw some of the issues that progressed from that. Now that he was back this game, you saw him making a few plays, but he needs more shots on goal. I think they need to run the ball more in order to protect CJ Stroud. I thought they ran the ball well today. There was
4.6 yards per carry.
At one point, I'm listening to the announcers, and I say to myself, these announcers are not watching and analyzing. That
was a rough broadcast today.
And narrating. There's a narrative that they have in their head, and they're going to talk about it, but they're not actually watching and seeing what's in front of them. I'm seeing Nick Chubb get 3, get 6, get 4.
4.2 yards per carry for Nick Chubb.
But I didn't see them run the ball enough.
And why couldn't they? But why couldn't they, Wade? And I'm sorry to interrupt, but you right there at it. Why couldn't they? Because I don't disagree. It was 15 runs.
Because he didn't call the run plays. That's why they couldn't.
They only ran 19 run plays.
15 run calls for the running backs.
It was 15 run plays.
15 run calls, 19 total carries.
And they averaged between Chubb and Marks, they averaged somewhere around 4.3.5 yards a carry, 4.3, give or take. So that's cool. They're not having the volume. Wade, I'm right where you are. I just want to introduce this idea. It's the same old Texans. Let me go to my Stanalytics here. First quarter, Titus, false start. Man. 3rd and 12. Where you want to go? All sides. Okay, that's the Neil Hunt and Stingley with penalties. Who else? Titus. Titus had 2 holding penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, Dalton Schultz had a false start. It's veterans. Veterans are keeping them behind the line of scrimmage.
Which frustrates me with this Patriot way, and the way you're right on it. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm a fan of the Patriots, so I've been seeing it for 20 years, and I'm experiencing it now with Kyle Williams. That has nothing to do with the Texans. Sometimes it feels like the system matters more than the players and what the players bring to an offense that lacks juice, by the way. So sometimes what the offense of scheme may be asking for a player, they may not be there yet. Yeah, it may take about 3 to 4 years to get that down packed. But right now, your offensive scheme, whoever's out there, you ain't got no juice. And so the lack of targets, 2 targets today for Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel combined, they catch both of their passes for 9 yards. That's inexcusable. If you weren't going to use these receivers, and Nick Caley was in the building at the time of the draft, if you weren't going to use the receivers to do what they do well, then what you could have done is go guard, tackle, guard, instead of playing it that way. And I also want to ask y'all this. Y'all let me know how y'all feel. At what point do we see Gerard Johnson may have more of a role in terms of play calling with this team?
We wouldn't know that.
Do we see that at all?
But we would never know that. Like, D'Amico wouldn't embarrass the politics of the NFL.
He embarrassed him today online on the sideline when he was yelling at him on TV.
So you saw that.
Yeah, we saw it.
Everybody's going to bring that up. But
no, we saw that.
I was
frustrated. I saw that. So.
But what I'm saying is he's not going to let Gerard Johnson. I don't hate the idea, John, so please, it's not personal aimed at you. But D'Amico isn't going to strip Nick Caley of play calling duties and influence publicly. A voice in the meeting room when they're trying to craft a plan. But at the end of the day, for this season, I can't see D'Amico demoting somebody during the season like that. When there were folks like me saying, why are you going to get a first-time play caller when we just saw you ran your man's Bobby Stork out of here? It just didn't make sense. So D'Amico's going to save face because of the politics that stipulate the position he sits in, and he's not going to put Caley in that situation. Now, inside the building, who the hell knows? When they're throwing ideas up on the dry erase board, we won't know whose idea won out on a given game plan.
And you guys bring up D'Amico there. Do you guys feel it? And you talked about him yelling. To me, it's pretty clear. I could feel the frustration through the television. Do you think
press conference,
like we're going to hit that point? I don't know if we're going to hear anything about it, but where D'Amico's about ready to pop with what he's seeing going on out there?
There is a belief by some. There's a belief by some that there are some coaches on the staff that were not handpicked by D'Amico. So is the frustration? Clearly it's aimed at the overall operation, the lack of production. But how frustrating is it him to go, well, if I'd have had that player I wanted, if we would have afforded that guy I wanted to sign, if we had brought that coach in. So again, D'Amico can't state this publicly. And he's a cool cat. I saw him do the halftime deal. Y'all see him running into the tunnel, and it was still a ball game. The Texans were in this game pretty much the whole way because Jacksonville is just so inept. They don't know what the hell they're doing. The Texans should be 3 years ahead of where Jacksonville is right now. The talent is about the same. But you're just seeing a Texans team that's a couple years ahead in terms of their development. D'Amico, we're going to find out. And if you look at the comments in this broadcast, like I'm looking at,
Fire D'Amico, fire D'Amico, fire D'Amico.
D'Amico, Casario, CJ, the what do you call it? The vigor, the novelty, all of that has worn off. People want answers, and somebody at the end of this thing is going to be held responsible.
Guys were also not getting open today. The broadcast was calling it out, and I feel like we saw too many. Wade pointed out with the play action, but too many two men route ran on the play action. I feel like y'all gotta. Well, the Texans should have given CJ Stroud more options. Also considering that hadn't worked throughout the entire season, but it was difficult for some of these guys to get open because of the amount of the routes that they were running was a little bit further down the field instead of working underneath consistently to just move the change. And I thought that was an issue as well. So offensive philosophy, I think that has to change. Nick Caley can't continue to feed us. We're going to work with what we have, and you're not working with what you have. I mean, that was his whole talking point throughout the summer. And Stan and I have talked about, okay, the first-time play caller. And I remember us having those conversations, and I would say, hey, man, I can only go based off of what they've done. Before that, for me, it was Jeff Nixon and Adam Stenavich. Those are my top two guys. Why? Because you got two guys that have been play callers, coordinators in this league. Jeff Nixon at the college ranks, but everything that the Houston Texans struggled with in 2024, which is going to be hard to kind of get away from for 1 year, he operates well with that. So now that Nick Caley was hired and he went on to say it's going to be the Texans' way, well, then you got a Todd Boyle saying it's the Patriot way. And when you come out and say things like, well, we're going to work with what we have, but then you come out through 3 weeks, you don't work with what you have. You're trying to fit what you have into what you want to do, and it's not working, which has cost his team points and drives and the inability to get to the red zone. They got to make some type of offensive philosophy change. And if not, I don't know when this team going to win. We can say Tennessee, but I don't trust them to put up points.
Wade, how do you think D'Amico's feeling about all this?
He's definitely got to be frustrated. When you look at how these games have been going, the defense has made play after play after play. They get sacks, they get interceptions. What did coming into the game? Jacksonville was the number one rushing team in the league. What did they end up with in this game? I think they
It was 3.6 per.
86 rushing yards, and a lot of that came in that last drive.
The one that they just gave away on the when they let them score.
Right.
So I mean, for the most part, I looked up in the fourth quarter and they had 46 yards rushing. The Texans shut them down running the ball for 90% of the game, 95% of the game. And they kept dropping the ball. Jacksonville they didn't make plays when they had opportunity to make plays. If I'm D'Amico Ryans, I'm frustrated just because if the defense continues to make plays, special teams is making plays. It's one end of the team, and he's responsible for all of the team, but the part of the team that he has to give up the most control over and delegate the most to is the offensive side of the ball. And if they are not holding up the end of the bargain, that can get frustrating. And so he's got to figure out a way to get it fixed. I don't know who the voice is within the building to get that
Is
done.
there one?
You don't know if there is. We don't know that. But I do know that when you look at what you're seeing out of the Texans offensively, it ain't good enough. And it's not just good enough philosophically. It's not good enough execution-wise. I remember the play action play where you got a running back and a fullback on a defensive end. In theory or in philosophy, I don't like that philosophy, but you still got to execute. One guy's got to be outside. One guy's got to be inside. Both guys ended up inside. He runs around the hump. It's pressure on CJ. People get mad at CJ, but CJ gets pressure on plays where he shouldn't get pressure. And it's not, like I said, last year, it would be somebody in the A-gap, and they would just let them come through the A-gap. I'm like, yo, we got to protect the A-gap. That's basic football. I coach my little leaguers to do that now, today. And that stuff was happening last year. Well, this year, it's not a mental area, but it is a mental area. If you got two guys on one guy's going to take the outside, the other guy's going to take the inside. If both guys go inside, that's a mental. Somebody's got to be outside to force him to not be able to run outside like that. And stuff like that is happening. That's on the players. Like, I don't care what plays you call. Mm-hmm. You players got to play. You got to make plays. You got to get guys blocked. And that hasn't happened enough. So guys have to play better. Play calls have to be made better. They got to play with more of a sense of urgency. They got to hold each other more accountable. They got to hold yourself accountable. All those things have to happen in order for it to get right. And D'Amico was just sitting there like trying to do everything he can to get it right. But those guys got to go out there and do it. And so, you know, call the play, whatever plays are called, players win games, players lose games.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Can I just combine? I want to combine a thought with that. I just want to combine a thought with where you are, because I agree. Bill Parcells used to say, think players first, then plays. The Texans, offensively, including up front, they don't have enough players. They don't have enough guys that are as talented to overcome poor play calling or poor coaching. They got Nico.
I think that I'm glad you added the overcome part, because they have the guys. MC, we got to make a stop.
We can just.
I gotta say this real quick. Nico Collins is a top 5 receiver in this league.
I said other than Nico. Yeah.
But he fumbled the ball today.
He did.
In a critical situation.
He did. And had a drop pass.
And he had a drop pass on a play action pass in a critical situation. Those things can't happen.
Agreed.
He's got to be Nico Collins. And for a lot of the game, there was another opportunity where he had a 50-50 ball. He could have went up and made a play on it.
Campbell came down and raked it. Yeah.
If he reaches out and catches with his, he tried to reach out, but it ends up in between on his forearms. If he gets his hands on that ball, it's going to be a catch. Those are the plays he got to make, because to be considered those are the plays you got to make. He's got to make those plays. If he makes those plays, we're not talking about this right now. If he doesn't fumble the ball, we're talking about the fact that the Texans won the game and it was ugly and what can they do to be better. We're not saying they don't have enough, because
I'm saying they don't have enough.
If he plays, say it again.
I said I'm saying other teams they're going up against. What did Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams do in week 1? What did Emeka Buka do in week 2? They took Mike Evans out the game, but then you had those 2 running backs from Tampa last Monday night. We're going up against other teams that are more talented offensively, and they're executing. Whether they have a better game plan or not, we won't know. We can only go off of who's the dude in the jersey and how does he look versus everybody else. So I do hear what you're saying. The Texans were still in position because of that defense. They were playing well enough. CJ making some plays. He kept the ball a little bit. You know, a little dink and dunk here. Woody Marks with a 9-yard catch late in the fourth quarter. So there were some good things. There, Chubb screen game, we got to stop that. Now that's just get out of that space. Nick Chubb should not be catching any screens for this team. I guess that's what I'm saying, guys. And I know, Mike, we out. In today's football, the Cincinnati Bengals can play horizontally. They've got Jamar Chase. The Dallas Cowboys can play horizontally when you've got George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. If you don't have freaks, then all the exotic stuff, you don't have the horses to actually fulfill or to maximize that opportunity. I'm saying the main Sunday because it's unbelievably. And so a whole when might be over his skis and Nick Caley when you got you don't want to play. Still takes
your service is real bad.
Yes, we're going to grab a quick timeout and we're going to get right back into it. We got more to get to here over the next 30 minutes. Locked on Texas Squad Show. Before we get back to that discussion, though, let's talk about your vehicle. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, they are keeping the game moving forward. This week, I wish I had a great moment to keep the game moving forward. I think there's only one for the Texans. That would be, of course, the Nico Collins touchdown to, get the game tied at 10, and unfortunately, they would go on to lose. When you follow what moves, the unexpected is only the beginning, and just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Texan Squad Show continues. Michael Connor, John Hickman, Stan Norfleet, Wade Smith. Guys, we're going through it here a little bit, trying to figure out, can they overcome this? And I kind of want to parlay that into, we've we've talked about a lot of little things around the quarterback, and we've talked about the quarterback a little bit, but through 3 games now this season, you've seen CJ Stroud, a little over 600 yards, 2 touchdown passes, 3 interceptions. Horrible interception today. I mean, I think we can all agree there. I mean, that was just bad throw, bad decision, as bad as
Both
it gets.
of them. Well,
I'm forgetting about the other one too. But
the other one he got his hand hit by Josh Hines.
Can they overcome this with what you've seen out of CJ specifically on top of that? Are we rookie year was unbelievable. Last year wasn't bad like everybody wants it to believe, but it wasn't great, obviously, like the rookie season was. And then this season has been so far very blah at best. What do you guys think on CJ at this point, John?
Really quick, I just want to ask y'all: Do we have a players only meeting happening soon?
If we hear that, I'm terrified.
We do. We can just count this season out. I don't know. I really don't know if the version of CJ Stroud that we have gotten to this point is enough to overcome it. And I've said it for the past 2 to 3 weeks now. We judge CJ Stroud too much on what he does under pressure because of the amount of pressure he's faced in the last 2 seasons. And I ain't talking about the weight of the franchise on his shoulder. I'm talking about guys in his face. And because of that, is he gun shy? Is he shell shocked? However you want to look at it, maybe. Who knows? He still goes out there and makes some great throws, but he tries to elevate this team as much as possible, but this team will continue to shoot themselves in the foot. So he can play up to standard, but if everybody else around him false start, now instead of 3rd and 6, it's 3rd and 11. Holding now instead of 2nd and 2, it's 2nd and 20. So he can do everything he can in his power, but it is not enough. And Stan, to your point about the weapons that the Houston Texans have, I'm glad you added and attached. Is it enough to overcome? Because I think it's enough. But what they have to overcome in a lot of ways is themselves, and that's play calling. And again, I'm looking directly to the fact that you can't ask some of these guys to do things that kind of takes 3 to 4 years to kind of master. So where is the pregame adjustment before you even get to the game adjustment and understanding, hey, I got to get my guys some juice. Let me get Jalen Noah in a place where he has an opportunity to get some yak yards. Let me have Jaden Higgins do some things to where he's comfortable. He's able to sit down on a route and pick up 8 and do that consistently. So I don't know if they can overcome their offensive play calling. I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome 24 penalties through 3 games. I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome the play calling when they get to the red zone and the play calling on 3rd down and the positions that they continue to put themselves in on 3rd down. I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome that. So I'm going to say no. CJ Stroud ain't going to be enough.
Ask the question again, MC.
Can they overcome? We're talking about all these other things. Can they overcome everything that's going on with the way that CJ is playing right now? Can they do that?
Anything is possible, but to have expectation, to have the expectation for them to overcome it, I think it's a stretch. Because, like I said, what we've come to find out of what they're being asked to do, I know that takes growing pains. You're gonna go through growing pains when you implement that philosophy on the offensive side of the ball. You're going to go through growing pains, and so to have the expectation that they're going to overcome, like I hope they do. I sincerely hope they do. I hope that CJ Stroud is the exception and not the rule. But I've seen this story over and over and over and over and over and over again. And when I seen who was getting brought into the building, I was praying, I was hoping that it was one way and not the other way. And as time has passed on, I'm seeing it's the other way. And so I know with that other way, I've seen some somewhat success with it, somewhat kind of sort of when Deshaun Watson was here. I saw, but Deshaun Watson had to be Deshaun Watson a lot of times. And he also had DeAndre Hopkins, who was DeAndre Hopkins. And so like Nico Collins can be the DeAndre Hopkins, but like the plays that he missed today and the fumble that he made today, Hop wasn't doing that. He was actually making those plays and he was holding on to the ball. And so they were able to overcome it to be like a number 13 offense in the league, which is good enough to win a lot of games. It ain't good enough
with that type of defense, yeah.
But with that type of defense, correct.
Yeah.
But if you have the combination of Nico not playing at the level of D-Hop, which is that's a crazy level you got to get to.
Borderline Hall of Famer.
I mean, exactly.
Likely Hall of
Likely
Famer.
Hall of Famer. So that's a crazy level you got to get to in order for the offense to have success based off of what we have seen. This has nothing to do against any person, anybody in the locker room, anybody, but I've seen this over and over and over again. And so what you're asking them to do, it's a very difficult task to take on. And to expect young guys to come in and play in this offense, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
It does not happen.
So now, like you said, the things are not marrying up. You guys made great points earlier where it's like, all right, you knew you were going to run this offense and you decided to draft in positions where you weren't going to be able to utilize those guys.
Blake Fisher was a healthy scratch today. You got 2 second-round picks on the offensive line that you traded up for that are playing 0 offensive snaps for you week after week after week. You cannot do that in a salary cap league. And I'm sorry, Wade, if I cut y'all, please forgive me. Don't forget your point. But if I could just expound a little bit, like, MC, if the question is, can CJ overcome all this? The answer is no. If I had to say yes, in 2025, the answer is no. Well, Stan, why do you say that? Coming into this year, I had in my head, let's see if CJ can beat Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had a bad offensive line. Joe Burrow had a young play caller. But Joe Burrow had Chase and Higgins and Boyd and P. Ryan and Joe Mixon and Uzuma's at tight end and got a big contract that following off season. That defense wasn't as – Say that again?
Don't forget that part either.
I missed it.
And he had a West Coast offense, Shanahan scheme.
He didn't have a defense that was outstanding. And Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl with a group playing against the AFC North, a highly more competitive division than what CJ is facing right now. So, and I use the Joe Burrow situation just to ask, and y'all have heard me say this before. We got some first-time viewers of the show. We appreciate them dropping by. See everybody in the comments. CJ does not have a physical superpower. His arm isn't just like crazy. It ain't Josh Allen, right? He's athletic enough, but clearly he ain't Lamar. He knows the game, but like pre-snap, clearly brother gets rattled. We've seen him get overly. CJ's body language and confidence right now is broken. He told us that in the presser last week. Last week he said, we need more confidence. When they say the offense needs more confidence, he's saying he needs more confidence. He physically does not possess enough of the stuff to, with Jalen Hurts, they can tush push and they know that's a first down. Physically, he can do that. Lamar, you mentioned Wade, you mentioned Deshaun. How many times did we see Deshaun RPO? I'm going to just go create some offense. You have to be able to create first downs when it's not there. And I'm being long-winded per usual, but second and last point. Philosophically, how was this offense was built to run the football? Nobody's afraid of Nick Chubb and Woody Marks. That's not Josh Jacobs. That's not Derrick Henry. Hell, that's not even James Cook. Nobody is coming down here. They're not creeping down in the box. Now, when you got Joe back there, okay, we got to make some adjustments because Joe's different. But like, okay, if you're going to run the ball and Joe's not going to be there, and I think they've known for a while that Joe was going to miss a lot of time. Nick Chubb and Woody Marks was the best you could get. That was the best you was going to do. Okay, maybe you thought DP would go back to his first year. But then why would you try and marry that, Wade? Why would you marry some reserve running backs and a rookie with a patchwork offensive line? You should have invested
Remember,
more
they
resources.
went after J.K. Dobbins, but the contract was too much.
That makes more sense to me. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you can't have backups at running back, backups on the offensive line, at left tackle, young players at wide receiver, rookies in the backfield and Woody Marks, and I got a first-time play caller. Like, they provide it systematically. It doesn't make sense. So, no, I don't think CJ can overcome all of that.
Can we just get together? Let's hold hands. We shall overcome. Let's take it to church really quick because that's what the Texans going to need. And MC, we at a Baptist church while I'm singing this and the fans in the chat. But we shall overcome. The thing is, man, we're going to have to wade in the water for a while because I don't think it's going to be in 2025. I just don't. And whenever it does click, my fear is for Houston, it's going to be too late.
I'm with you there, and I tell you what, we're going to start the final segment of the show. I don't do it a lot, guys. I'm going to get it off my chest real quick, and I'm going to let you guys tell me if I'm right or wrong for this as we talk about it here in a brief second. Locked On Texans Squad Show. Before we talk about it, though, let's talk about FanDuel. Football season, it's here. FanDuel's making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday. So are you ready to play? Well, go and download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Well, the Houston Texans are 0-3, and we are talking about an 0-3 football team here on the Squad Show. Michael Connor, Stan Norfleet, John Hickman, Wade Smith, the former Texans offensive lineman. And guys, I'm going to get it off my chest right here, right now. We're going to react to it. Okay, so we've talked about all the little things. We've talked about the offensive scheme. We've talked about how they view football and bringing guys in and not playing young guys and this new scheme. And you want to be Tom Brady. You want to be the Patriot way. And I'm going to say it for myself. I am thrilled that the Texans have gotten back to relevancy in the last 3 years. It was a rough few years watching. I mean, it was a joke. We all know what happened. We don't have to relive it. But I will say this. There is one lingering effect that is still prevalent to this day with this franchise. And they have been doing this since, I really think you go back and you look at it, when Bob McNair stood there and talked about signing Ed Reed and wanting to be the Patriots and beating the Patriots. They chase this Patriots thing, and they've been chasing it for years. And Nick Caley has brought in another Patriots way type of thing. And we've, through 3 games, watched the Texans want to do the Patriots way. And I'm sick of it. I want this franchise to have its own identity. I want this franchise to go out and play an offense, run an offense that looks like something that's run in the NFL today. Not that this isn't run, but it just doesn't feel like it's run by everybody. I'm not saying be like everybody else, but run something that's successful. I've lost faith 3 games in. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I have complete faith in DeMeco Ryans as a leader, but I have lost faith in Nick Caserio as a general manager. I've lost faith in the offensive coordinator 3 games in, and I am going to tell you, if it continues to spiral out of this way, I will continue to speak it from the mountaintops. You have to stop trying to be the New England Patriots, and for once in your freaking life, be the Houston Texans. Am I wrong as a fan for feeling this way?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I want to let y'all take it. Nick Caserio, in my opinion, shares a lot of this blame. You and Stan points it out all the time, and I think I haven't pointed it out since they made the hire. But you go with a first-time play caller, but now my question is, why him? Was it because of what was presented? His ideologies from his time with Sean McVay, or was it because of what was presented to you in those meetings that you felt comfortable with because of your times in New England? Now, during that time in New England, there's one guy that made it work since 2008. He's no longer in the NFL now. He's a partial owner. But why did you go with Nick Caley? Why did you sit there and say, I'm going to go with the same route that I just had to move on from 2 years into this thing? Why? Why for Houston when you've interviewed plenty of guys? Yeah, wait, Adam Stenavich was my guy. Jeff Nixon was my guy. Guys that has plenty of experience in the NFL college ranks as well. Why? Was it because I like this guy's ideas on how he can incorporate what he's learned from his time in Sean McVay? That's, you look around the league, it works for Kevin O'Connell. It works for some of these other guys around the league that comes from that same tree. Or was it because you felt so comfortable with this guy presenting something that you, at one point in your life, you saw every day, you worked with every day, you talked with every day, you knew every day? Is that why? And if so, along with the offseason we had, Darrell Taylor was a healthy scratch today, by the way, guys. Got to point that out. Along with everything that you did coming into this third year, a pivotal year for your quarterback, next year those conversations are going to start for his contract. You decided to go this route, and some of these guys that you brought in, whether it's coaching or drafting or free agency or unplayable right now, Nick Caserio, if I'm the fans, Nick Caserio needs to go, and it's completely justified.
Stan?
Oh, go ahead.
Or Wade? Either one of you.
It's been 4 or 5 years since Nick Caserio was in charge of shopping for the groceries over there. And over 5 years, most of those 5 years, that offensive line still looks like that. You've thrown free agents at it. You've thrown draft choices at it. You've got multiple coaches in there at it. Like at some point, we got to change where you're shopping. That ain't going to happen. The players are in the SEC and the Big Ten. So we can't change the grocery store. It's only a couple stores, only a couple chains we can hit to go get guys. There are players everywhere, but y'all understand the majority of the players where they come from. Okay. So that sometimes, man, I may got to stop using Instacart. I may have to start using Uber Eats to deliver my groceries. And so D'Amico, and some people are asking, does D'Amico need to be held accountable for ultimately how this team is or is not performing? My understanding is Caserio drives the draft as well as free agency. Those are the players that he's selecting, signing, extending, trading for, or trading away. And he works in concert with D'Amico. The 53 roster and how this thing lays out during the week, D'Amico has the power, from what I've been told from inside the building. At the end of the day, D'Amico's not going anywhere. The McNairs know what life was like before he showed up. He has stabilized things. He has raised the profile. They were the bell of the ball for a minute, and he's learning on the job too. It happens. So you're not changing D'Amico and you're not changing CJ. You're not changing the McNair family ownership. There's only one more chair you can change. The guy shopping for the groceries. And when Caserio leaves, and I'm not pushing him out the door, I'm saying there's valid reason to terminate him if that's what they elect to do. But when he leaves, that Patriot way that you worried about, MC, Caserio was really the last one carrying the battle flag for that. The McNair family has to make that decision.
I do want to shout out Cole Popovich. I think the offensive line does look better this year than last year. I want to say that.
Are we putting lipstick on a pig?
I'm just saying, in terms from the inside pressure that we've seen last year and this year, I do think that there's been a difference. That's all I'm saying. Whether it's greater or minor, I just want to point that out.
At the end of the day, it's not good enough, but I agree with what John's saying. They are better this year than they were last year, but it hasn't been good enough to win ball games. MC, your frustrations are completely understandable. You are not wrong to have that thought process of why are we trying to be them. As somebody that was in the building as a player, I didn't understand it back then. And I didn't understand it back then, and I still don't understand it as a player of why, you want to try to be someone else when you've shown that you can have some success yourself and just improve on that, on what you already have done and accomplished. And I think they tried to get back to what it once was when you signed D'Amico Ryans, when you brought in Bobby Solik and you started, everything seemed very much so like, I remember this very vividly, what it was like. And the problem was the person that they had in the position of offensive line coach didn't understand that scheme and understand the ins and outs of what it takes to make it work. And so it made it feel like that entire offensive philosophy was wrong. And so what happens is teams tend to pivot. They don't look say, well, we got something that works here. We just need to tweak it a little bit and we can move forward. I don't feel like that's what happened. That's just me from what I can see watching them play and just hearing other coaches talking about them. Like I said, that was eye-opening to hear Todd Bowles say, like, yeah, oh, that wasn't like when they was like, yeah, so you see, You know, Kaylee coming from the Ram scheme. You know, what is it? Oh no, that wasn't that. It was this, and it's like, oh, it's your worst fears, because you know that comes with growing pains and frustrations, and it's very difficult to pick up. And so when CJ says we got to play with confidence, I don't think it's a matter of them saying like, hey, I forgot how to play football, because all of them are good at football. It's like, hey, I'm trying to have confidence in what we're doing, how we're doing it. You see a quarterback hitch up, it's because, am I sure that receiver is going to go in, or is he going to go out? Because every route, you know, 7 out of 10 routes are option routes. So is he for sure going in, or is he going to sit this down? Is he going to keep going? Is he going to go up? Is he seeing this exactly the same way I'm seeing this? And that's the difference between a completion and an interception, or a sack fumble and a first down. And so it takes times, it takes repetition, and it takes, you know, prayers to God, because like I said, the evidence has shown that this type of way of doing things are not successful. And maybe Todd Bowles got it wrong. That's my hope. Maybe this one game it was Patriot-like.
No, CJ told us that in the offseason.
Listen,
in the offseason, CJ said we've been watching 2001,
He just said it last
2,
week.
and 3 New England film.
Well, I didn't hear that.
He
interview.
just said it last week.
Yeah, CJ been saying that.
That's more discouraging to hear that from me. It's more discouraging, because I've been in organizations. I've played in organizations that try to do it that way. I played for the New York Jets when
Mangini
was the coach. I played for the Kansas City Chiefs when Todd Haley was there.
Todd Haley, yeah.
I've seen it up close. Them try to replicate that. I've seen it with the Texans with Bill O'Brien here, and the offense was never good enough to be a dominant. Or I've been part of some dominant elite offenses, and it wasn't doing that. So I've seen it be dominant and elite, but it's only been one guy that's been able to do it within one organization, with the greatest head coach in the league pulling the string.
Yeah. And I think that's important. That's important.
Y'all think CJ Stroud is dry snitching a little bit to the media?
But I don't think I don't listen. Some guys feel like, oh, I have more control now. That's better. No, that ain't always true, homie. That ain't always true. Sometimes a coach is telling you something for a reason.
Based off experience. Yeah.
Based off of evidence, experience, expertise. Watching twice the amount of film that you watch. You know what I'm saying? So it's discouraging. So for you, MC, to be discouraged by that, it's understandable. The fact that I mean, it's just it is discouraging. Can it get better? It should get better. It's got to get better. But is it going to be good enough to meet the expectations that the Texans fan had going into the season? That's a stretch to me right now. Can it get good enough to where they win ball games and win a division? I think that's still on the table.
It's still on the
table. And so don't jump off the ship. I'm going to tell you that. Don't jump off the ship. The defense is still a damn good defense. They made plenty of plays. Special teams made plays. They still have a head coach that is to me an excellent head coach. So that being the case, you're still going to be in every ball game. But if your offense is not potent offense, that means you're going to be in every ball game. You're not going to pull away. They're all going to be tight. They're all going to be close. You're going to be trying to figure it out in the end of the game. And so we'll see. We'll see. But you're hoping for the best.
To your point, I know Stan, you want to get into your point about the defense. I just want to highlight they did force the Jacksonville Jaguars 4-15 on third down, 4-16 altogether when you combine third and fourth down tries. So the defense did everything in their power.
You can't ask them to do anything more than what they did. Yeah, that you cannot.
They created a turnover. And then Jalen Petrie has the first interception of the year. And so, your point,
you're wasting performances. Tim Settle made play after play.
Dylan Settle made some play back.
Number
51 is an animal. 51 in white.
Hill still made the same.
Got busy. He got busy. I thought aside from, and I think we all may think it was a busted coverage from Kalen Bullock, the Brian Thomas play across the middle of the field. I thought outside of that, I thought Kamari had a great game. And again, I don't necessarily want to put that on Kamari. He just was the closest defender, but I thought Kamari played good.
I thought
I'm
guys
going to
that overall.
I was going to say I didn't. Henry told down here on the near sideline on Jacksonville sideline. It was a 3rd and something. I wrote it down. I think it was
you got shook by Travis Hunter.
This is what I'm saying. I'm like, there were.
Yeah, that was nasty. That was nasty.
That was Travis Hunter.
That was a nasty play too.
I can't blame him for that one.
There were a handful.
Him getting shook by Baker Mayfield, that's one thing. Him getting shook by Travis Hunter, that's Travis Hunter.
Kalen Bullock missed a tackle on Washington 11 in the 3rd quarter. That play resulted in a 1st down. I thought there were a handful of missed tackles, which ties into kind of how I want to punctuate MC from my end. When you want to try and replicate or emulate the Patriots, you have to understand the Patriot philosophy. So I played for Al Groh, who coached with Saban and Belichick in Cleveland. They come from Parcells. So the Patriot way is really the Bill Parcells way. That's who taught me football. And there are just some fundamental staples in what goes into that overall. Guess what Bill Belichick's teams, guess what they don't do regularly? Penalties. They don't beat themselves. Guess what they consistently are? Excellent on special teams. Kyrie Fairbairn misses a field goal today, and I thought Tober was awful. The punt game was bad today. It was bad, and it cost the offense. Yeah, you had one that was money, but you didn't put the offense in an advantageous position. Kyrie, I'm sorry, brother. You're gonna have to consistently make 50-yard, and they're gonna have to be chip shots. This offense is not good enough, Kyrie, for you to miss field goals. Just can't. And so, when the special teams are sound and you're not beating yourself with penalties and you understand time of possession and you understand that middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half, and you understand down the distance and you understand we need to score, you're not playing like I remember just sitting in classrooms listening to them install this offense and defense from me being a former edge guy and a linebacker. And you have to play situations. You ain't just playing plays. You got to know, here is their package on 1st 10 and beyond. Here is their packages on 2nd and 5. Here's their package in the high red. Here's their package in the low red and the goal line. Situationally, ball at midfield, ball on left hash. That's what you're looking at when you're looking at all of this tape. And I know D'Amico understands that because I'm watching the defense do it. It's like they don't have a plan. So you're trying to replicate something and get to level 202 when you ain't even out of one-on-one yet. They don't even do the one-on-one stuff good. And I continue to believe that it's tied to personnel. I think they have a personnel issue. And who's responsible for the personnel on the roster? A dude from New England.
Yeah, John Carroll.
Yep. And John Carroll, New England, all of it. All right. So we got to put a bow on today and for next week as well. Guys, last point as we go out for each of you, we do this every week now. What has to change next week for the Texans to get their first win of the season? John, kick us off.
I mean, they got to get in the end zone. That's what needs to change. Whenever they do get down there, which is going to be rare, they got to punch it in. I know that may make me seem like Captain Obvious, but that's it.
At some point, football ain't that hard. Yeah, at some point,
they got to score points.
Right. The great Vince Lombardi used to say, football is a simple game. Run, block, tackle, catch, and throw. It's just not easy to do. So, like, we don't have to get in there and go crazy. Cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, or we run a combo. It ain't that hard. And you're talking about your 2 concepts. Like, at some point, bro, you got to relate to the man in your zone. Are we going to run a levels concept and get the quarterback outside the pocket? Like, at some point, it's not but so hard. We've been playing this game way to a test. He played longer than I did. We've been playing this game most of our lives. It's not, don't overcomplicate it. D'Amico says it all the time. Hey, man, rookie or not, they're going to put a football out there and we're going to kick this thing off. Yeah, the players are the players, but your ability should rise to the occasion and then becomes the mental game. And right now, quite frankly, when I look at these penalties, I look at some of these blown coverages, CJ Stroud staring down where he going to throw the football and getting it picked off, all that's mental. That ain't got nothing to do with nothing physical. That ain't got a bleep to do with game plan. That's just guys not locking in and taking care of their business.
Yeah, I would just say this. They got to clean it up as far as the way they play the game of football. You talked about it earlier. The penalties, turning the ball over, pre-snap penalties. holding calls, personal fouls,
Goodness.
all these type of things put you behind the 8 ball, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like on defense side of the ball, you know how we talked about earlier that, like, hey, offensively, they don't got the players to overcome some of these penalties, and they're putting themselves behind the 8 ball. They don't have the people to overcome that. On defense, you've seen it time and time again. They do have the people to do it, and sometimes they do overcome it. But usually when they get beat, it's because of something like that. There's a third down that's converted because of there was a illegal contact, or there was a defensive holding or something like that. Keeps the drive going. They miss a tackle, then they score. But they have also shown themselves that, hey, they got a penalty, and then they make up for it. Well, on the offensive side of the ball, you're not there, so you got to clean it up. So the way up front, hey, the holding penalties, the false start penalties, illegal hands to the face, all that type of stuff, you got to eliminate that stuff. You can't have tight ends jumping offside. You can't have receivers jumping offside. Those type of things.
Christian Harris, what the hell are you doing? I'm sorry. Christian Harris, what are you doing? I'm saying, Christian Harris, come on, man. You've been around this
Another
league for a while.
undisciplined play on the sideline that
You
hurt
can't
the
be
Houston
undisciplined
Texans.
on the sideline when you're in a game that's nip and tuck. Now, he was fortunate that it was an offset penalty, or that could have been disastrous. So I'm just adding that to buffer your case, Wade. It just
they got to clean that stuff. If you're gonna, you can't do nothing. You got to be all in everything. So if you're gonna go that Patriots way, you got to be all in with that. You got to be the smartest guys on the field, because when I played the Patriots, they was always the smartest guys overall. I've been in those buildings where those guys had that philosophy. I was the most prepared going into the games when I was with those types of teams, because you had to, like, you talk about the situations and your scouting report and all that type of stuff. We had so much information going into ball games. You knew what people were going to do before they were going to do it. Yeah. Now with other organizations, they expect you to be a professional and study those things on your own. And that philosophy, you're gonna be in the building doing that. They're gonna make sure, and they're gonna pull you out in front of the meeting. You're gonna call you out in front of everybody. But they make sure that you know it that way. You know, and there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's cool. But if you're gonna do that, y'all got to be all the way in on that. And that's the only way you're gonna have a chance to succeed. You can't have the philosophy of, like, hey, on the defensive side of the ball, I feel like it's the Texans way. On the offensive side of the ball, I think they're trying to do it the Patriots way. But overall in the building, it's got to be all one or the other so that it can actually work. And so hopefully they can get that figured out. You know, who has ultimate decision and control? Nobody knows that. People can say what they say, but nobody knows the actual politics of what goes on in the building. And so they got to get it worked out. And do they have the ability to get it worked out? Yes. All of them have had success in this league at a high level. All of them have been to Super Bowls, won Super Bowls. All the people that are major decision makers in this building, they have had a tremendous amount of success in this league. So it's up to them to get it fixed, to get it worked out, and get it done. And it's for us to observe and hope for the best and cheer them on and all those type of things. But the people in the building are the ones that's going to make this or break this. And so we'll see what happens next week against Tennessee. But right now, to have the expectations of it working out the way we thought, I think that's a stretch. But the actual ability of it to happen is still there.
Feels like a stretch for sure based on the way that they're going. But there is, I guess, the one bright thing is that they're going to play the Titans next week, and you never know. You never friggin' know. We'll be back, of course, when that game wraps up next weekend, live on this show. This show will also be live Tuesday night, breaking down a little bit more of this game and then looking ahead to that Titans game as well, as they will hopefully get their first victory of the season in that one. Don't forget, between now and then as well, to be listening to John with the Daily Podcast here with the Locked On Texans squad, or Locked On Texans page as well. We hope you guys have a far better rest of your Sunday than it started off with the Texans giving you a loss. We'll talk again on Tuesday night on the Locked On Texans squad show.